Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Marketing Podcast. Before introducing my usual guest, Alex, which we're basically doing every episode together, I would like to introduce the guest of honor here, a good friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time, head of sales at Google, hell of a smart guy. Hi, Jared.
Hey Rocco, hey Alex, hey everybody.
Guys, Alex is with us here today as well. Alex from Your Digital Assembly. Alex, as always, thank you for your time and availability. I know you're all the way in South Africa and always make the time for us.
Always fun, you know. We always sort of end up having long conversations, and there's always great input from participants, and so it's great.
Thank you so much, Alex. And guys, Jared is a very busy guy. So today we're going to try to be very brief in terms of showing comments, but feel free to comment because we're going to show a few of them. But Jared, I'm going to get right into it, right? This year has been marked by being one of the year with the highest interest rates in recent time. Interest rates means people basically fall short of the credit card payments, which eventually results in lower consumptions and more decline rates when it comes to buy now, pay later kind of solution. This translates in lower marketing budgets, but companies need to make sales to be able to survive. So you're at the head of sales at Google. How does Google adapt their sales strategy during good times and bad times? Like, do you guys have some sort of guidelines you guys to use?
The playbook doesn't change depending on the economic conditions, but we are an organization that cares deeply about our customers, and we start from that perspective, humility, empathy, and as a dad and a family of entrepreneurs, I also experience it firsthand. And so, yeah, we are in an uncertain economy, but there's another part of this story, which is an incredibly resilient consumer. And so the conversations we're having with our customers are around profitability. It has actually allowed us to be more focused and more helpful to the bottom line in a way that we were only aspiring to previously. So now, tactically, the conversation is, what is your business objective? How can we achieve that through marketing strategies anchored in what you're bidding, what you're budgeting based on that demand, and how much coverage of that demand you have?
Jared, building up on that, right? When it comes to an e-commerce or even a service business, you're basically in the same boat, even though they're called differently. But there is something that always strikes me. As a marketing agency, most of the times where we talk about profitability, we talk about ROAS and lifetime ROAS. Lifetime ROAS is always the keyword we use. But how can somebody like an agency or Google get as depth into identifying problems within the sales team at the company? Because after the initial sales, it all falls down on the company to do a very good job in that. So are you seeing like probably the biggest issue being sales? I don't know, Alex, if you want to add up to that question.
I mean, I think like it's normally like because marketing is pretty siloed per definition, and then it moves over to sales, no matter if it's sort of B2B or B2C, and then someone else that owns it. And there, but no matter what, there's a certain, I mean, marketing will be sort of, I guess, responsible, blamed for, in some essence of that sort of lifetime ROAS at the end of the day. So, I mean, it would be interesting to sort of hear sort of if you guys have any, if you have any input, guidance, suggestions.
Well, one of the reasons I love working with Rocco is because he inhabits his customers' mindset and adopts their goals as his own. And so when you develop that type of relationship and when you prove it through the impact of your strategies and how you execute them, it's a lot easier to be framed as a revenue driving part of the organization versus a cost center in the organization. And that's a difficult leap to make for a lot of partners, especially when you don't understand what the business is trying to achieve and what's in the minds and hearts of the decision makers driving that strategy.
That is a good point. And I feel, Alex, I don't know if you want to maybe touch point to KPIs, right? Like At the end of the day, Jared mentioned a lot of things, but it all is coming down to KPIs. And KPIs are not always, of course, AdWords KPIs. They can be sales goals KPIs, sales teams, right? How do you think, Alex, KPI play a role? Because it's very easy to achieve KPIs during a good economic time, right? But how do you make sure your team is ready for downturns?
Yeah, I mean, that's also always a tough question, because often, and I mean, at least various organizations that I worked on with, and also now like running it on my own, I see clients that they have two different sort of strategies or tactics rather. One is cutting back everything, and to therefore take that loss on some of these KPIs in the short term. Others, I think, have a better sort of situation, and therefore they actually take advantage of this period. So there's like, I almost see like the two, but there's no one sitting and defending where they were at the high peak of the season. So it's either like, okay, we go all in, or we pull back. And I mean, it's often spend. I mean, it's like, if budget is a KPI, that is what is sort of being put on the table.
Because one thing that, Jared, I meant to ask is that, you're talking a lot about those KPIs, the sales team, like the whole picture. And recently I've been working on a few clients where I was noticing something that was really bothering me. Offline conversion is very important, right? Offline conversion is exactly what they're talking about. For service business is how you get the ROAS in there. But then we usually use HubSpot or Salesforce. I came to the realization that, don't ask me how, but for phone calls, there is a big disconnect of what you can get in the CRM itself. Because let's say a call from an ad or a call from the website, it's very hard to pinpoint. So for example, in my case, for calls from the website or calls from the ad, for calls from the website, what I do is, if somebody wants to convert, we send them a text message to send them back to the website so the CRM can pick up that source. For calls from the ads, there is no way, because the click ID got lost. So my question is, into this world of ROAS and profitability, don't you think it would be great if Google has their CRM that fully integrated with Google AdWords? So all of this data now, instead of having to deal with HubSpot and Salesforce, that most of the time you get fed up with support, it kind of brings that all together, right?
Yeah. And this is such an important part of the foundation. And our effort there is through Google Analytics 4. Yeah, that is where we advocate for customers to make sure that they have complete attribution as close as possible, including importing offline conversions, and then using that to build audiences. The disconnect that we find, there are real technical challenges here. I don't want to gloss over that. And you're describing a couple of them. They're really sticky. We have to work through those and get to the best place possible. Some of what that looks like is an understanding of the consumer journey and assigning value along the way. Those are good proxies towards that ideal solution.
Go ahead, Alex.
I mean, so I'm a lot of where I have clients and I've done a lot of business is this minefield, also known as Europe, where GDPR is very strong, where I guess GA4 is one of the hot topics currently, and I guess that hasn't really settled in terms of any real resolution. But I think that one has turned in to make like attribution and the CRM system extremely difficult. And I think ever since like GA4, I see like the intention with it, and it's really awesome. But there's this privacy area that makes it extremely difficult. But I mean, in your world, mostly operating in North Am, but what would be your advice in terms of how to sort of try to navigate this area, but more in a GDPR area where privacy is key?
Yeah, I mean, we're big believers in a privacy-centric, approach. It does vary by region, and frankly, it varies by customer and how you're set up. We found some of the more sophisticated customers using cloud, to ads data manager, even using some of our AI tools to synthesize that data. But it is, it's been a difficult transition towards what we believe is a much better, more sustainable platform. So I don't have an easy answer for you there, Alex, but maybe the takeaway, for us and for our customers is, who are your best customers? How do you know that? And how can we use some of that information towards informing how we find more customers like that?
That is very interesting. And
I mean, but I mean, indirectly, it's almost being cookie free. So it's almost like being the implementation of where cookies were supposed to be completely sort of gone within a certain date, but now they are almost in certain regions of the world. You just need to come up with or go back to methodologies that you used to have to, as you say, acknowledge who sort of is your sort of buyer personas or ideal customer profiles, and sort of try to target these with various experiments.
Right, and if you have a large, installed customer base on whatever platform you reach them, your brick and mortar store, your online store, your app, those are great, wonderful. That's an incredible asset. For those businesses that are still building up their customer base, that's where listening to demand signals, following the consumer insights. We have a tactic called broad match, and the reason that broad match is so helpful is because not as many people know your brand, and they're seeking out deals, and they're open to competitors, and they haven't built a loyalty yet. So I think it depends on your kind of the maturity of the business, which tactics you want to implement.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, thank you for that.
Jared, I would like to open up a side topic on this, just because I feel that this is something many businesses struggle with, not only in the AdWords side, but also like in any vertical you're in, independently from advertising. Sometimes I feel that you need to, it's very hard to set the right expectations. Why do I say that? Because sometimes expectation hurt, meaning that you don't want to hear that. And I'm going to give you a concrete example, which is advertising related, but it really applies everywhere. Let's say you are selling products with an average order value of $20. Now, we are all old and vaccinated, like we say in Italy. We do know we are not going to make profit on the first sale on Google. There is no way, because you need to convert every 5 clicks basically to make it profitable. Once you add up product costs, shipping costs, employees and everything. So when it comes to businesses like that, a honest person, a transparent person will tell them, look, Google cannot be used to generate profit right now. It needs to be generated. It needs to be used to generate that first customer that will repeat buying. And you need to calculate how long you can keep that customer, going back to lifetime value. So and not many, believe me or not, large companies, they get that because they've been doing it for years. But new advertisers, they find it hard. They say, oh, I want to break even, which is not possible, just not a realistic goal to have. In cases like that, you guys have a lot of clients that are without an agency, and you have reps, salespeople most likely at the beginning, that explains them that process. How do they break it down in a way that the customer understands? Because now, after 13 years, I learned that if they don't understand, I'm not going to assign them as a customer. I do my best, right? But you guys cannot say, oh, we're not going to assign them on Google. Probably you guys will get a big smack on your hands if that happened, So how do you guys tackle that issue?
Well, I spent, I think I know where you're going with it. So let's try this out and tell me if I'm answering kind of your question. But I spent about a decade of my time at Google talking about it being the year of mobile and what that meant for customers. The decade that I'm upon now is telling customers about how AI is going to change their businesses and how they reach consumers. One of the things I love about working with you, Rocco, is you're having these conversations, these, as you said, setting expectations, but also really guiding based on your wisdom, not just in meeting rooms, but in your local basketball games and all the different ways that you interact with your consumers, your customers, and your community. And so that's the nature of humanity. We need to have those conversations in person and over time to influence each other towards better outcomes. The part about how Google plays a role in acquiring profitable customers is one where I do feel very confident today. And I tell customers that if you're trying to capture existing demand, we can do that for you. We have proven that, I think, quite well over a long period of time. The key ingredients in that I think you might be getting at, Rocco, is when a brand wants to advertise on Google to reach their consumer, are they putting the cost, including shipping, taxes, all of the variables that go into it? We have something called unit economic calculator that helps a brand understand for each unit that they sell, what is the total cost, what is the desired profit margin, and then using that data to assign conversion values in their Google Ads campaign and optimize against that. If there is demand in the world for your product and you're using those as inputs, I feel very confident that we can deliver for you.
Of course, within the restriction of if you're selling a $10 product, you better have a strategy to keep selling to the same customer, right?
Well, new customer acquisition is a very big part of the work that we're doing. And one of our most successful and simplest ad format to do that is Performance Max, which can optimize for new customers.
I think we lost him there for a second, but in the meantime, Alex, we had lost you for a second there. Jared, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
No worries at all. We were able to catch everything. Just wanted to let you know. But no, Alex, what's your take on that? Like,
I mean, I think what I've sort of come to realize over the years, at least within marketing, is that you also, as I think you guys have done very well, is that you're not speaking unit economics in a marketing way. You speak unit economics in a almost like a financial, like boardroom level type of ways that you break it down, so it's not a black box that throws around jargons that are probably relatively unfamiliar for a CEO or a CFO for that matter. But I think where Rocco was going to with it as well, sort of also then starting to stress the fact that I think the world needs to start looking at marketing as more cross-functional than also siloed, because you will have that LTV or lifetime value based on how good you are in getting that second, that third, that fourth sale, either may be via Google the next time or via one of your other channels that may be.
Absolutely, Alex, that was really well said. That is our aspiration, to speak with customers and people based on their interests and their business goals. Yeah, I wonder if either of you, Alex, Rocco, have you noticed any patterns in speaking with customers or advice you have from Google to have more of those types of conversations? Because our hypothesis is that those are the most important ones to have. That's how we show up best for our customers and our consumers.
Yeah, the best conversation I can literally have with a customer is usually nothing to do with the optimization of the campaign. Because I give you another example, right? That's something I can give you more context offline because I don't want to share too many sensitive details. But this customer was noticing their cost per click staying the same, but their conversion rate dropping dramatically. I'm pretty confident on my work. And I checked it out, right? Mistakes can happen, but everything was perfect. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Then eventually I looked at the auction insights and I noticed something. So this client is spending under $50,000 a month and we have 15% impression share. We were the second company in the market. The first one was 17, the third 13. All of a sudden, a 35% company shows up in the market. The next day, a 25% company shows up in the market. To which time I explained to the client, look, this is what's going on. As I was talking to the client and explaining how the conversion rate went down, and this client I've had it for 6 years, so we get along. There is no like inventing stories there, right? I was like, I have a feeling these companies are scammers. So what do? I call the number of these companies. They turned out to be scammers. They were probably like, inflating that market. In that case, the conversation that I had with the customer, I was only able to get to the conclusion, not because I know how to use AdWords, but because I knew the business of the customer. I knew exactly how much money you can spend to make profit on that service. But if you do not have those conversations, you're going to ignore that data. I keep telling people that a very good marketer can probably operate any company, because you need to know the companies operate to be able to do your job.
And you're curious, and you act on those curiosities to test, your hypotheses. And that's a wonderful quality. And this conversation has been so, grounding. I feel like I'm going to have a much, better day and be more helpful with my teammates and my customers based on this, Rocco and Alex. So I know we're coming up on my time, but I'll be tuning in for future shows. And I really, really enjoyed the opportunity to catch up with you both.
No, thank you so much to you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared, for your time.
If you get on the line for a second, I'm going to greet you after I end the stream. Okay. But thank you so much for everybody joining. I'm sorry I couldn't read the comments. As I told you, Jared is a very busy man. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.